Hello and welcome to a brand new hardware review today with another pair of headphones, the Trust GXT 363 7.1 virtual sound vibration bass headphones. What exactly is vibration bass, you may ask? Well, stay tuned to find out. But first, a big thank you to the people at Trust for giving us this headset so we can review it. Much appreciated. Now, let's get to the full review and analysis because you've probably already seen the unboxing a few weeks ago. Well, first things first. How well do these headphones look? I mean, just take a gander at them. They look like they came off some stealth bomber or something because they have this really neat matte coating that just doesn't leave any trace of fingerprints on them or dirt, and it's probably gonna make it easy to clean compared to something that's very shiny. And also it has these, very angled edges that again make it look like something that fell off a stealth bomber. Now, in terms of actual build quality, I'm sad to say that they're not as high-end as the Marvel ones I reviewed a few weeks ago, mostly because they're made primarily out of plastic and they don't have as much rigidity to it, they don't feel as strong, to the point where I'm not comfortable doing this to them a lot. They already kind of jiggle because the straps of the headband is just put in here with plastic, like it's plastic on plastic, and that may degrade after a while, and there is some jiggling to it when they're extended. Like it's not a I'm not comfortable putting any stress on them in case they break. Also, this band is entirely plastic, either that or it's aluminum and it's not magnetic because I haven't taken them apart, but I have tested them with a magnet. A better solution for these headphones would have been again to just put a metal bridge between the two earphones and have the padding sort of tented over them with its own grappling mechanism. The padding on the upper part is quite soft and shouldn't give you any problems with head pains. The padding on the earmuffs could have been somewhat softer, or at least they could have made the ear cups a bit larger because well, you know how I said that in the Marvel review I didn't encounter any problems with adapting to that headset? Well, with this one I did. It took about 2 weeks for my ears to adjust to the shape of the headphones, otherwise I would encounter a lot of pain. Like, from extended use there was a considerable amount of pain, which I can say was very enjoyable, but with time you get used to it, your ears adjust, these things break in, and you will be more comfortable using them for prolonged periods of time. I wish the process would have been faster, especially my ears wish that, but hey, these things happen when you get new headphones. These headphones, by the way, also have a boom for the microphone, which extends all the way down here. So you can actually place it a bit closer to your mouth and it'll have a bit more amplitude in the volume because of the shorter distance. Though you cannot actually rotate it any further, you can't bend it to be closer to your mouth, so yeah, some more flexibility to the boom arm would not have hurt in any way, shape or form. In terms of overall build quality, they are okay, they're not fantastic. I would have preferred more metal, but these headphones do have some other features that compensate for being mostly plastic. For example, they have this very nice braided cable that is not gonna cling a lot to stuff, to furniture, because even though it's braided, it's very slick and very smooth to the touch, and it is somewhat cat resistant. My cat actually tried to chew on it a couple of times, but gave up, and it's currently still functional and whole. And attached to these very nice cable, with this about 3-meter long cable, there is this remote, which is something that the Marvel headphones did not have. A remote that actually gives you access to everything you would want on these headphones. You have the ability to actually shut off the lights, like completely. Now this is gonna be a very good thing again if you have a cat, because your cat will probably not attack you as much. You also have the ability to mute audio, mute the microphone, change the volume, and activate or deactivate the very mysterious vibration bass, which I'm gonna get to in a couple of seconds. But first, let's talk about some general performance. These headphones have 50mm drivers, which makes them bigger than the old Marvel ones. That means that they have more power to them, and that's kinda noticeable. They don't seem to have any problems with frequency response. I've encountered no issues with that. They perform about as well as I can expect. The dynamic volume range is about 76 decibels, like for audible voices. the loudest voice you can hear and the quietest voice you can still discern, there's about a 76 decibel variation between those, which is very good for headphones of this caliber. Like, you're not gonna get some, again, I'm gonna make the audiophile joke, you're not gonna get headphones that make music sound like it's being played right in front of you for 50 euros, which is about what these headphones cost in my region. They may cost upwards of 90 in euros depending on where you get them from. But they do sound good. They do sound very good. They sound good in games and they make music very pleasant to listen to. Maybe even more than the Marvel ones, because this headset has two features that make it stand out. It has vibration bass, which you can enable by pressing this button. You can press it twice to enable it to the maximum potential actually, and it also has 7.1 virtual audio that works, like it actually properly works, and is enabled via the driver. So what does vibration bass actually mean? It means that there are motors, like actual motors, in each cup, and when they detect lower frequency noise, they will start vibrating and give you a better sense of the amplitude of that lower frequency sound. Now, it does actually feel like you can hear the bass at a larger, more powerful amplitude, and also because they reverberate, they kind of make you sort of feel like you're hearing it as well. They have a very good effect. It's especially nice in explosions in games like Counter-Strike when you're chucking grenades all around. They actually make the grenades feel more impactful, especially if you turn up the volume. And well, that's a bit of a problem with these headphones. You see, this volume knob, well, it's not a knob, this is just a thing over here. The volume is controlled by these two buttons, plus and minus. They are digital volume controls, meaning that they control the volume in Windows. They control the volumes on your PC. There is no physical knob for volume on these headphones, which means that, well, you're gonna be using them with around between 2 and 10% volume most of the time, because they will be constantly on full volume. And for someone that creates content that needs a more granular detail to the volume control, they're not actually that great. Now, for people that use them, you know, for day-to-day gaming and not content creation, this may not be an issue, but for me it was. I really wish that they had some volume knob that was independent from the PC, because it would have made them even better. Like, for example, you could have probably set the volume to max and the headphone volume, like the actual physical volume, to something a bit lower, and crank up the bass so you could feel every explosion and not have your drums shut off by the noise, because these things can be quite powerful. Like, your ears will ring after a while if you set them on the highest volume possible. Also, sort of related to that ring, there is a bit of an issue with them. There are a lot of electronics in these headphones. Like, you have lights, you have the speakers themselves, which are 50mm in diameter, you have motors, you have a microphone as well. That's a lot of electronics, and I'm sad to say that there is some coil whine. Like, you'll notice it especially when there's absolutely no noise, maybe when you're trying to record something with the microphone that's embedded in the cups, or maybe when everything is silent and you just have the lights turned on. There will be some coil whine, like you'll hear a very, very faint ee. It comes and goes depending on what's enabled here. Like, if you disable the lights, it will go away for a while. If you disable the volume or the vibration mask, it will go away for a while, but it does come back again and again and again. It's not noticeable when there's any sort of noise being pumped through the headphones, but otherwise it is there. And, well, coil whine is not something you would want in headphones, but again, these are not high-end listening to music that was recorded on vinyl by maidens in Crete somewhere around 2000 years ago. It's not that, they're not that kind of headphones. They are headphones made for more mainstream, more gaming-oriented sector, and, well, it's still a defect, but it's not a critical one. But I would have preferred it if there was no coil whine, which... well, when you're working with sounds that are very low and you need very, very fine hearing to discern them, they can be an issue. But again, for most people that won't be a problem. they're not even for me, but I just can't help but not notice that coil whine. One issue I have noticed with vibration bass is that if you listen to sounds from 50 to 60 Hz, you will experience some very noticeable shaking and rattling, because that's sort of the sweet spot for the engines. They will just go insane at that level, but otherwise they have no problem. And now we get to our old friend 7.1 surround sound. If you remember the Marvel headphone review, I said that they didn't have any sort of, actual ability to output channels other than stereo. And, well, these do. Like, these actually do. In the driver, they have the ability to enable 7.1 virtualization, which allows them to output other channels than just stereo. I've tested with files, I've tested in games, and they do output more than 2 channels. It's a bit of a, software magic to them, that's how they do it, but it works. It may not be as good as actual 7.1 sound, but it is still very well implemented, and most of all, this thing can be tweaked quite a lot. There's an option that will let you enable 7.1 even in stereo mode, so if you're listening to music, you can enable 7.1 audio and suddenly everything you're hearing will seem that it's coming from a much wider space. Now when it comes to music, that actually has a discernible effect and makes music a lot more enjoyable. Like, I was blown away by it, like the effect is very nice. And in games, it works very well because, again, you have choices, you have options with these. You can set each individual virtual speaker to be exactly where you want it to be. Like, for example, let's say I'm a bit paranoid that people might be sneaking up on me in video games, like in Counter-Strike or maybe something like that. I can set the rear speakers to be closer to me than they would normally, so I can actually hear sounds behind me louder than they would normally be. Like, that can actually give you an advantage in certain games. I'm not kidding, that's actually bordering on being considered sort of a hack, because you can just isolate the sounds that are coming from behind you. It's not just about positional hearing, like, you'll still be able to hear everything around you, but you can isolate just sounds coming from one particular direction. And that actually makes them really worth buying just for a 7.1 sound. In terms of microphone performance, it's probably nothing to write home about. It's not that impressive. It is very heavy on the treble. There's basically no lower frequencies to it, but it does have better volume because you can place it lower on your face than you could with the Marvel one. Probably not as close as I would have liked to, because this thing isn't flexible. Like, you just can raise it and lower it. You can't make it go closer or further away from your face. But I do like the addition of the mute button, which is actually very practical. Now, this microphone does come with some software to it, the software that's in the driver and in the utility that comes with the headphones. And that lets you customize things like adding echo, because this doesn't actually have any echo. Like, it's heavy on the treble, but because of the way the boom arm is built, it doesn't have any echo. It doesn't sound muffled like the Marvel microphone did. But you can add echo to it in software. You can make your voice sound like a monster. You can make it sound like a lot of other things. I've set up a test that will let you hear the differences between my standard Behringer C1U USB microphone and this one. This time adding a bit more to it, like noise isolation and some aspects relating to the software which these headphones come with. This is a recording using the Behringer C1U microphone. It is a USB microphone that is now recording at 48 kHz on 16 bits at a distance of about 3 centimeters away from my face. No filters or volume amplification have been applied to this recording. This is a recording with the microphone embedded into the Trust GXT 363 headset. It was created at 48 kHz and 16 bits. No amplification has been applied to this recording and no filters have been applied to this recording. This recording using the Trust GXT 360 microphone was amplified using the standard Enable Microphone Boost settings in the Options menu. It is significantly louder than the Behringer C1U at its standard level. This recording of the Trust GXT 363 microphone has been boosted by 6 decibels to reach the same level of amplitude as the baseline for the Behringer C1U. This is a noise isolation test through which I will click my mouse and bang on the keyboard for a couple of seconds in order to indicate just how well the Trust GXT 363 microphone picks up background noise. The mouse was approximately 40 centimeters away from the microphone and the keyboard roughly 30 centimeters away from the microphone. This is the same noise isolation test repeated using the Behringer C1U microphone. The distance is roughly the same. The following test is meant to highlight the various other functions that the microphone in the GXT 363 headset has to offer. There is a echo option which, when enabled, allows you to create a reverberance effect to your voice. This is an example of the default setting. This is an example of the low setting. This is an example of the high setting. The following is a recording of the magic voice option present in the Trust GXT 363 headset software.
This is an example of the monster voice modulation.
This is an example of the cartoon voice modulation.
This is an example of the male voice modulation.
This is an example of the female voice modulation.
One last issue I've encountered with these headphones, it's sort of a Windows 10 thing. If I completely shut off my computer, like unplug it, Windows may forget what they are. The driver will still work, you'll still have 7.1 audio, you'll still have all the controls, but the software may need to be reinstalled to have the fancy graphical interface, not just a driver one, and you will have to reset certain things like the frequency from 44,000 to 48,000 kilohertz if you want to. Otherwise, it doesn't have any actual problems with them working. It's just that Windows forgets what they are and just lists them as standard generic USB with 7.1. Thankfully, it doesn't forget they have that. In closing, I would say that these headphones are worth it. The build quality may not be as good as I wanted to, the microphone is nothing to write home about, and there is the issue of it having some coil whine and no actual volume control in a physical form, just a digital one, but the 7.1 virtual surround is very well made and the vibration bass does make sound a bit more palpable, which sort of gives an experience I haven't encountered before with any sort of headphones. So yeah, these get a thumbs up from me. They would get 2 thumbs up if they fix some of the issues again, like the microphone being a bit tinny, not having any sort of hardware volume control, and that coil whine. And yeah, the build quality again could have been a bit better. Well, that was it for this review. See you next week with maybe a hardware review of another gaming mechanical keyboard with Kailh switches. We'll see. See you then. Goodbye. Thank you for watching this show. If you enjoyed it, please consider watching some of our other videos and maybe sharing them or giving a thumbs up if you feel like it. And if you really liked what you saw, please check out our Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you could help us make much better shows and get some rewards in the process. Or you could consider buying my book called Tale of Doom. Volume 1 is out now and available for just $2. And as always, if you thought it was horrible, you know where to find me and complain about it.